Hi, students. What I wanted to do for you in this video is sort of throw myself out there and write a script, a bash shell script from scratch. And the road may not be entirely smooth along the way. We'll see how it goes. I found this question just in a Linux problem book, so let's give it a go. We're asked to write a bash shell script that will accept on its command line an absolute path name to a directory. And then that script is supposed to rename each file in that directory by tacking the suffix BAK to the name, so .BAK. And then once all those files are renamed, the script can finalize by creating a compressed tar archive of the file. So this sounds like something that a Linux system administrator may have to do to automate activity on his or her server. So let's open up a Ubuntu session and give it a go. It helps to get the password correct, and now we're at a command line. I had already opened the terminal from the GUI on this version of Ubuntu desktop. And let's see where I am. I am in my user account's home directory. And just by a matter of sort of habit, I like to create under my home directory a subdirectory that I call bin, sort of mirrors or mimics the system bin directory, although that directory typically holds binary files, thus the name bin. But I have this directory for all my executable scripts. So let us go in the directory, and since this is a fairly fresh install, I currently do not have any scripts in this directory, but hey, we're about to make one. So let's review what we're doing. We're writing a shell script that's going to accept a path name to a directory, renaming files. So let's give our script some kind of nice name. Let's call it back up .shell. And again, the .sh suffix here is not a requirement. It's just another habit or best practice that I've developed so that I, as a person, can look in a directory, and when I see the name, it reminds me what type of a file it is. So when I open BI, I always know that the very first thing I want to have is shebang bin bash. So that will be the first thing that I put into my shell script. Now, what is it that I want to do? And I typically map out what it is that I want to do at a high level with comments so that then I can just fill in my script as I create more and more functionality in the script. So I want to, first I want to get that command line parameter for the directory name. And then a little bit after that, I want to, this is me, I want to check that the name given is in fact a full path. Because why go on if you don't really know what it is you have to start with? And then I think I'm going to want to do some more checking. I am going to want to check that the directory name given is valid. Is it one that's on this particular computer in the hierarchy? And well, if it's not, I'm going to just say check valid. If not, we need to end somehow. And probably the same thing up here. It's not a full path. We want to write a message. All right, so I am working in the VI editor. When you write a script, you might want to use Nano or some other favorite editor of your choosing. That's sort of all the preliminaries. And then we're going to get to the heart of what it is we want to do, which is to rename the files. Rename all files. Extension. And the last thing we'll want to do is create the all right. So that is the task that we have before us. So first we want to get that command line parameter for the directory name. Well, we know that it is the first positional parameter that will be passed into the program. So I'm going to create a variable called directory, and it will be that first positional parameter. I could just go on in the script, just referencing $1, but just try to clarify things a little bit with this dir mnemonic. I also believe that later on, I may want to reference just the lowest directory in the full path name. So as an example, say I was in we'll use the bin directory as the example, the one that I just talked about. The full path is /home/Deborah M/bin. But later on, I may want to just reference bin as a descriptive name for that location. So there happens to be a Linux command called base name. So that gives us that root name, and I'm going to get that from the value that's in the dir variable. And we reference that by $dir. Well, we haven't done much yet, but we can start, sort of checking out our script by using the, let's see, directory name. It's passed in. And then we can go ahead and echo out the base name just to make sure we haven't made any mistakes. And because I want to put those on separate lines, I will use that \n, which you may recall is the new line character. Okay, so don't have much going on yet. Got a script. Get the first positional parameter off the command line, and then I sort of pluck the base name out of some full path name, and so far that's all I have. So what do I have in my bin directory? I have a single file called backitup.sh. It is not yet executable, so I'm going to use the chmod command, and sort of the shortcut way to add execute for everyone is that +X. I'll just add execute for my owner. So read, write, and execute for the user owner. And I'm just going to keep read, write for the group and read only for others. And then that's backitup.sh. And I'll look at the long listing again and confirm that is indeed the situation I have. Now, I know this has happened to a person or two along the way where they're in the directory that they want to be in, they believe they want to be in, and so they type in the name of the script, and we'll say home, Deborah M, and we'll take the documents directory that we know exists, and boom, we get this error warning, backitup.sh command not found. And we think, how can this be? I'm here, right in this directory. This computer is an idiot. Well, you're right. The computer is an idiot. It only knows to follow instructions that have been meticulously prescribed. So remember that the computer only knows about folder locations or directory paths that are in the path system variable. So I've echoed out that and see that my bin directory is nowhere to be found in that path. Well, I can resolve that for a moment here by saying, let's take my home directory and bin and prepend it to the path, and then export. Now, let us run our program. Same way. Now the system actually recognized the script and executed it. I have printed out to the screen or echoed out to the screen the words directory name and well, I guess I didn't need, I had those \n's there. Those don't seem to be required. They were taken literally, so I'll resolve that. And the name of the base name, which actually looks okay. So let us go back and keep chugging away. So I'm going to remove those special characters there. And move on. So I want to check that the name given is a full path. So can you think of some marker or indicator that would tell me pretty quickly whether something is a full absolute path name? Think about it for a second. I'm going to propose that we do that by checking the first character and then determining whether that first character is a /. So I need to find a way to pluck that first character out of this variable dir. And I know there's a way to do that, and I may or may not completely remember how to do that, but we cannot allow our fading memory to have us stumble. We can use search engine tools, man page, anything in our disposal, and keep searching until we find something. Well, here's an article, substrings in bash. And I read the article. There's actually a variety of ways that we can pluck substrings, but I sort of like using the bash substring syntax, which we can see here is a $sign and some curly brackets and then a index point. So P is the number that indicates the starting index of the substring, and then L is the length of the substring. So, and you can see that you can omit the L for some different behavior. But this is exactly what I thought I recalled, but I just wanted to be really sure. So I got that $sign in the curly bracket, and I have my variable called dir. The substring starts at 0. There's lots of things in the Linux world are 0 based. Again, you need to research and confirm. And since I only want to get the very first string, very first character of the string, that will be a 1 for the last entry. All right, so now that's the first character, and then I need to make a decision, right? I just said that I wanted to if, and the if is going to be inside of square brackets, and then there'll be a then, and some things will happen. So what is inside of the if? Well, if that first character is a /, then we consider that good. We're on the right track. But if it's not, then we are going to write a message out for our script user, sort of set them straight, and exit the script so that they can, try again. So we want to look at the first character. Fix our VI. Okay, so if first character, is that what I named it? Yes. First CHAR, and if that does not equal the single character /, then I can get rid of some lines. Now, this is important to note. Need to have this white space here inside of these hard brackets. It's just the way it is in a bash script if statement. If you use the hard brackets, you have to have white space after the beginning bracket and before the ending bracket. And now we are going to do, and again, I'm going to put in some indents. That's more for readability than anything else. But the first thing I'm going to do is, so echo out to my user, this script requires absolute path. And then maybe tell them to try again. And we're going to exit the script. And in bash, the end of an if statement ends with FI. Don't ask me why, it's trying to be a little cute there. All right, so we've made it a little bit further, and we can always get rid of some of these echoes that were checks along the way. You can keep them in until your script is completely proven in. We might want to echo out that first character just in case something went sideways. We'll at least know maybe what happened. And well, let's see how far. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so all we have in this particular directory is our script. Just for interest purposes, Let's look in our documents directory. There are 3 files there, so maybe that's a good one to use for testing. So let's do back it up .shell, and let's go ahead and give it a go with this shortcut command and make sure that things are working. So we know that the base name is documents, and hey, the first character was detected as a / and we didn't get a nasty note from our program about the directory being in an incorrect format. So that's good. If we really want to check things out, let's go ahead and give it some wrong information. And we see that the first character is D, and we did get a message. This script requires an absolute path name. Try again. All right, sounds like we're making some good progress, and we can keep going. So we we'll go ahead and keep echoing out the base name. May or may not need to echo out that first character now that we realized that it works all right. Comment that out. And what do we need to do next? We need to check that the directory name that was given is indeed a directory on our system. That sounds like another if statement. So if sounds like another one in the hard brackets. You may recall from earlier Linux training that a -d is a way to ask if a directory exists. But we want to do sort of the opposite of that, right? We want to say if it doesn't exist. So let's go back and put a bang and space in front of that bang. So if the directory doesn't exist on our system, then what do we want to do? We want to echo out, again, some descriptive information. The directory that you provided, so that's stored in this variable, the directory does not exist on this system. And we could say exit it. And then we will exit and end. All right. So we should make sure we didn't make any mistakes, right? Test it out. So let's do that. How would we want to test that? Well, name of the script, right? And well, let's give maybe a directory that's not going to exist. So our base name is Joe. The directory home Joe does not exist on this system. Exit it. Excellent. That's what we wanted to happen. Good. Let's give a directory that we know does exist. And all we get is the base name and the end of the program. So we are very close to doing something of substance. We want to rename all of the files with that .bak extension. So that sounds to me like a loop might be in order, probably a for loop. And we can say for, I don't know, file name in. And the way the bash for loop works is you can give it a list, or you can create that list via a command. So let's look at, say, the output of an ls command. So that might be something like that. And for loop, want to do something, and then we'll be done. So that is the general format for the for loop. So perhaps I messed up. Didn't completely mess up, good for me. So what do we want? We want to move the file name to file and .bak. I think that will do the trick. And how about for this step of the way, we're going to do copy until we make sure we've proven in what we have so far. So let's give it a go. And let's give it a go with a directory that we know exists and has some files in it. So we ran it, lickety split. Let's see, let's go see. So we want to change directories to my home documents directory, and I'm going to list out, and voila, I've got my 3 original files, file 1.txt, file 2.txt, file 3.txt, and now I have 3 new files, file 1.txt.bak, file 2, and file 3. So things are looking pretty good. I'm going to get rid of BAKs. And so I'm back where I more or less started. And I only have one other tiny little thing to do in my program. But guess what? I'm not in the right directory. These things happen to everybody. The biggest thing is not to have a nervous breakdown, to go back to the location where we expect the program to be, and now open it up with the editor. You can see that we have everything looking good. Down to the end here, we will need to create the tar archive. So tar. And if we forget how to use tar, well, we can just stop right here, right? And we can look at the man page. And there's lots of confusing things here, but if we sort of page down through a little bit, we see that we could look in the info system if we really need some more hand holding. But I believe that we can read a little bit here. NewTar is an archiving program designed to store multiple plot files in a single archive. We go down a little bit further and you see at the very last line, for example, the C option is creating the archive. V is verbose. And the F option takes an argument that sets the name of the archive to operate upon. Okay, now it's all starting to come back to me. C to create, and I'm supposed to create a compressed archive, and I remembered that Z does compression, and then the F is always the last thing. So this isn't a very good example right there. That I'm sure is going to error out. We need to do something more like this, where we have tar -C. We won't have verbose. Let's do CZF, the name of our tar archive, and then the directory that we want to archive. So back to our story. All the way down to the end of the file. And create compressed file archive. And here's where I want to use that variable that I created back at the top. I think base name. Let's check and make sure that's what I called it. Base name. Okay, that will be and I think I'll name my archive base name .r.z, and it's the original directory that I want to archive. And let's go ahead out, and the very last thing we'll say is archive named let's try that. We may have to use some backslashes because dots are special. Let's give it a try. All right, so, and let's give it a try from our home directory to just verify the point that now that my home bin is in the search path, that I can type it in from anywhere and be recognized. And I will go ahead and specify the ~/documents directory, and that's the name of the base name. tar just gave an informational message telling me that it's removing the leading // from the member names. And then I got my message, archive name, documents. Again, I didn't use the / characters apparently. but the archive was created. So let's go see if it is. Okay. It doesn't look like it has been created. So that's interesting. We'll have a little bit of debugging to do, but we do in fact have the files. Oh, back to we are going to have to try to figure out what happened here. And maybe maybe white space and special characters are some of the most interesting things that we'll come across in using and debugging shell scripts. So, okay. Let's see if it has. Ah, just a second. Look at that. There it is. There it is. So one thing to recall is that I ran the script once from my home directory. There's probably another archive in. No, there isn't. But you can see we have them backed up twice. Well, my home directory, my user account's home directory is in fact where the tar archive was created. And we might have to just do a little bit of thinking about why that is exactly. But it does look like we solved the initial problem, which is to write a bash shell script that will accept as its input an absolute path name of the directory, rename each file in the directory, tacking DAK to the name, and once the files are renamed, the script will create a compressed tar archive of the files. Probably in a, well, there is the other archived tar in my bin directory. So I ran the program 2 different times, and once from my home and then apparently once from bin, and we got 2 archives. let's go back into back it up dot shell and just discuss the fact that in a real production type environment, we would probably want to create this tar archive and then do a bit of cleanup by getting rid of first of when I actually move files to .bak, and then we might actually want to delete or RM those BAK files after they've been archived. All right, so we went tiptoe a little bit. If you don't remember a command or the syntax, you need to look it up. You need to take a break. I recommend also writing the program in little bits, echo out different values along the way so that you can make sure that you are on the right track. And if you do get syntax errors or something bombs out in your script, don't be put off or discouraged. It's just important to keep plugging away. Use all the resources at your disposal. There are lots of ideas out there on the internet. There's the man page system. There are other code snippets that others have created. Again, for the substrings, there were lots of different ideas already put forth on what to do with the substring. If I wanted to do a bash shell if statement, there are tutorials and many ideas that will help you on your way. So there's the hard brackets, the test inside, then of course the FI. So keep practicing. That is the absolute best way to get better at scripting, is to just think up tasks to do and practice, practice, practice. If you can automate tasks in your environment, you will be a valuable resource and loved within your organization. Keep at it.